Thank you very much, and it's a real honor for me to be standing in front of you, such an audience of insightful and thoughtful people, and to share my thoughts. I'm gonna have 3 points. I will be sharing you something about engagement, something about the future of schooling, and something about the future of humankind. So 20 minutes is enough for those topics. I will follow actually the advice of our former panel about storytelling, and I will start by telling a story, a personal one. When I was at the age of the students in the panel, I had the possibility to go as an exchange student for a year from a very, very small village, agricultural, from the west coast of Finland to El Paso, Texas, to attend a school right by a Native American reserve, and to go to a school that was a school full of people from that reserve and with Mexican background, mostly. And I went there so that I was there a month before school started. And the brother of the family where I stayed was an editor of the newspaper in the school, so he had already gone to school before school started. And my parents in the family were working, so I was there all alone that first month. And making that shift, there was the sun that was burning my skin. There was the Mexican food that was burning my mouth. And there was the homesickness that was burning my heart. And I thought that I will not make it. I'm serious. I kind of had those moments that now I have to tell, I want to go home. There wasn't anything that made sense to me. I've learned English in school. The English they spoke was a different English. They were using words that I didn't know. Everybody was talking about, it's this stuff. And what does stuff mean? I had no idea. I've never heard that word before. And kind of things like that I faced each moment. Nothing made sense to me. Then, actually, luckily, when school started, and still I was with the same feeling, the school was even different. That didn't make any sense. That then I was asked to come to the school marching band and to the big band. I'm a trumpet player, have been playing since 6 years of age. And then suddenly, going in those practice rooms, cutting my instrument and starting playing, I noticed that I connect with these people. I know what they're doing. I know what they're talking about. I was part of them. And then everything solved. And that was the best year of my life. But it was that close that it would have been the worst year of my life. I'm telling this story for the reason that it is said that we are all agents, and then we have an arena. And the question is that how we're capable of connecting with that arena. Do we feel home with the arena that we are placed in. And when looking at the world we are all living, I think there's a bit of a situation that you don't have to travel anywhere, that you sometimes feel that you're out of place. What's happening here? What are the things that kind of used to seem functioning well don't function anymore? We have the artificial intelligence, which makes us as humans to think about ourselves entirely differently. The scientists are talking about it being an ontological shock for us, because we have to think that we aren't anymore the peak of cognitive competencies in the world, but there are some machines that are far better than us. So who are we? What is it for us to do in this world? And I think that that has a lot to do with the question of the mental well-being of young people. We talk a lot about the mental well-being, but I think we should talk more about the reasons that why there are so much challenges with mental well-being. I don't believe that we can solve that by hiring more and more and more mental well-being and mental health specialists and psychologists to school. I think we need to take seriously the message that we have created a world for those young peoples where they are not feeling well with the arena. They are kind of not connecting and engaging with the arena. This is a kind of a summary of a book that will be coming out in January by Rebecca Vankard about the disengaged teen, where he or she and Jenny Anderson have looked about the level of engagement of students, and also seeing that no matter what type of schools we are talking about, the engagement levels are going down. They have the resistor, who are the students who resist, don't want to be part of the school. There are the ones that are coasting along, but don't really engage. There are the ones actually that are the good students who are writing down everything that the teacher said, but don't really engage. And then there are the ones, the explorers, who are the ones that are really having that curiosity and have that possibility of engage. They have found their trumpet to find their place and wanting to learn more and feel home there. And kind of on an individual level, when we're thinking about the increasing complexity in the world, it's that challenge of educators, that how do they make sure that the challenges that the students are faced with are kind of meet the skills and abilities of the student. And of course, that's the kind of a core of what education is all about. My point about engagement is that we need to pay more attention to that basic questions, that how our schools are functioning in the way that the students are feeling engaged in that community. My second point is about kind of looking at what is the development where we are right now, and to understand that we have to understand where we are coming from. We've come from the industrial era with the role of the humans being connected to the machines. We were helping the machines to do the important work in factories. We moved from factories to offices, and that was the time of information and knowledge societies, where we put ourselves being the one on top of everybody else with our cognitive skills. And now we are in the era of that not being true anymore. But we have to think that what is it that is special about us humans? And I do believe that what becomes essential is our ability to interact with each other. The thing that, what can we reach together? What are the things that are meaningful for us? What is our ability for relevance realization? Because that's a human question. Relevance realization is about survival. What is meaningful for us? The machines can't decide that for us. And it also comes to the question that in the era of AI, it will help us a lot. But try to ask AI applications that, would you tell me how to end all wars in the world? That's a bit of a kind of a difficult question, because the only way to do that is to get rid of humans on the planet. Because wars are connected to the ways we see each other, we treat each other, we look at the world. That's the same thing with climate change. It's the same thing with the loss of biodiversity. Technology won't solve those problems. Some leaders of the world won't solve those problems. They are connected to each one of us. How we as humans act in this world. And that makes them educational problems. And I think we are entering an era where you can say that the final aim of education is not learning. Learning is a means. The final aim of education is human development. And learning is the mean for human development. You can also phrase this as that the final aim of education is human flourishing. And then the question is that what kind of a curriculum, what kind of an assessment system, what kind of a school is needed for that aim to be reached? And that leads me to the question and the role of school in doing that. And this is a book of scenarios that was published by OECD a couple of years ago with 4 different scenarios for schooling. And I'm not going to go through them, but the thing is that we will have a much more fragmented landscape of different ways of schoolings that we have had so far. We will be seeing more and more situations where school as a social institution will be not present. That schooling, it means something else, like, for example, in the model of learn as you go. And then there is the question that we have to make sure that what are the best ways to do it? And I come back to the engagement and also that connection with the student and the world, that connection, no matter what model we are thinking about, is as direct as possible. And I will end up by saying just a few words about the future of humankind. With those global challenges that I mentioned, there is that challenge that we really need to take into use all the capabilities that we as humans have. With this picture, I'm saying that we have, during the information and knowledge society era, especially in the Western world, we have had the spotlight on those characters on the left. We have overemphasized them, and we have underemphasized the qualities on the right. And we should be capable of utilizing that whole scale. And that's a fundamental question for the survival of humankind. I will actually be talking more about this in a book of mine that comes out next summer in English about these topics. I just want to pick off this list one item, and that's the question that how do we see knowing, the cognition? We have reached a lot through science with the propositional ways of knowing. But we, as humans, we have other ways of knowing. We have the way of knowing how to do things, the procedural knowing. We have the ability of thinking about what does it mean to be somebody else, look at the world with different lens, with different perspective, the perspectival knowing. And then the participatory knowing that how we are developing as part of the world. And this is a picture that kind of gets me thinking a lot. How did those patterns in the wings of those two butterflies, how did they get there? Where did that knowledge come from? That figure of an owl that takes care that those butterflies don't get eaten. How did they know to be next to each other like that? Where did that knowledge come from? We all have that knowledge in us. We have it in our ears, in our hands, in our knees. Do we connect to that? Can we use that type of knowledge? When talking about survival, those butterflies survive because of that. We might survive also if we are good in using that kind of knowledge. And it comes all to the question that education has the transformative power, but in this kind of times, it requires that we must dare to swim against the tide. That is our challenge. We talk a lot about education in the press and media, and it's all problems. Education is seen as part of the problem. It's our task to show that it can be part of the solution. Thank you.